All right, Unexplained ones. Welcome to All Things Unexplained. I am Dr. Mounts, and this episode we're revisiting one of the most extraordinary conversations ever featured on this show, and one that feels more relevant now than when it first aired. Before the documentary Age of Disclosure, which is out right now, before senators and military insiders began openly acknowledging non-human intelligence, Leslie and Stephen Shaw sat down with us and described experiences that challenged everything we thought we knew about UFOs. They told us who they believed was flying these craft. They described where they come from, what they want, and why they're interacting with humanity, sometimes intimately, sometimes aggressively, and sometimes with the quiet cooperation of governments around the world. At the time, their testimony sounded quite bold, even extraordinary. But in light of what key officials are saying publicly today, their story now feels eerily prophetic. So, this episode, we're presenting what was previously a two-part interview in full with the Shaws as one continuous episode, unfiltered, unbroken, and more impactful than ever. Whether you're new to their story or revisiting it with fresh eyes, prepare yourself for a conversation that just might change the way you see the phenomenon. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button or the follow button, depending on where you're listening or watching at. Let's get started.
I am here to discuss the so-called flying saucers.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's.
Did the CIA write Wind of Change by the Scorpions?
As humans busied themselves about the various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied.
Dr. Loeb, what percentage chance do you give it that you have indeed uncovered extraterrestrial or non-human technology?
With infinite complacence, people went about their affairs, yet across an immense ethereal gulf, intellects vast and unsympathetic threw their plans against us.
All of a sudden, a stick out of nowhere landed right in front of us, and there was no tree, nothing overhead. Something threw it at us.
Yeah.
All things unexplained.
So some of that, I think, sir, we'll save for closed session.
Hello, all you unexplained ones. Thank you for joining us. I am CJ Derringer, joined by my co-hosts, Dr. Tim Mounts and Smitty Neeves. We hope everybody is having a beautiful day. We have a wonderful show for you. We can see we're already being joined by some of our friends. We've got our friends Cosmic Convergence here. They've got a great podcast about things in the UFO world. We've got our UFO Busters, that UFO show in Australia. Thank you all for joining us and for commenting. We're looking forward to an awesome discussion tonight with our very special guests. We have none other than Leslie and Stephen Shaw joining us. They are lifelong UFO researchers. They have had a love affair with this topic. They are constantly researching. They are UFO experiencers themselves. They're going to tell us about their book. They're going to tell us about Stephen's family and all of the experiences that they have had over many generations, potential abductions, etc. They also just got finished up at Contact in the Desert, so I know they'll have some fun tidbits to share with us about that. So we are going to get to that in a moment. Meanwhile, if you haven't yet, please do subscribe, like, share this show. Be sure to comment. We love hearing from you guys, and that's what keeps us going. Additionally, we do have a store now where you can get some All Things Unexplained swag right here on our YouTube page. So pick up a hat, some sandals, a coffee mug. We've got some really great things on there. Be sure to check it out. All right. Throwing it your way, Tim.
Yeah, don't forget Super Chat, Super Stickers. Did you say those?
Nope. Good
So we
thing
do
we're a
have
tag team here.
Super Chat and Super Stickers available right beside that chat bar on YouTube. Hit those. We really appreciate everything you do for us. Hit those. We'll get your comments, questions immediately out there, even if it's not time for listener questions or comments. It doesn't matter. We'll get it out there. And listener Gray Druid is here with us tonight. Says hello, Gray Druid here with Cosmic Convergence. Thanks, guys.
They're all converging right here on our show.
Cosmos is converging. Shout out to Cosmic Convergence. Disclosure will come from experiencers. You know what? I think they're right about that. We want to say a shout out to Transcendence, who is here already. Hello, nice to meet you. Shout out to our friends, UFO Busters, that UFO Show Australia. I have to give them a special shout out, CJ and Smitty, because this week we were in the charts in Canada and Australia.
G'day, mate.
So that's right. You call that a knife? I can't say it.
You call that a knife? This is a knife.
This is a knife.
Yeah.
So it is thanks to people like UFO Busters that we're hitting the charts in other countries like Canada and Australia. And we love our Australian friends. So thanks for all of you for being here already. And now we're going to cut to a brief commercial followed by a little video about Leslie and Stephen Shaw and their experiences. And they'll be here to join us right after this little break. So here we are. We will be right back, folks.
All Things Unexplained is free to watch on YouTube and listen to wherever you get your podcasts. If you would like to support our show, you can visit our YouTube store. Additionally, you can find us on Venmo under All Things Unexplained. Be sure to check out our website, allthingsunexplained.com. All proceeds from the sales of Dr. Mounce's books on Amazon and Audible also go straight to our show.
Are aliens flying UFOs in our skies? 20 years ago, when we began researching our book, Who They Are and What They're Up To, we noticed that UFO theories were not aligning with UFO facts. With no other choice, we pitched these theories and reconstructed new ones that do fit the facts. They are based on logic and do not take trips down improbable rabbit holes like time travel, wormholes, or interdimensional beings. Our theories explain why they are sighted 10,000 times per year, why they are abducting us and mutilating our cattle, why they are interbreeding with us, and we attempt to deduct their future plans from their actions. According to our research, UFOs are not visiting here from distant star systems. They are here influencing the development of our race for thousands of years. We believe they are close cousins, a branch of humanity that separated from us 13,000 years ago when the human race was divided into two groups, those who retained their knowledge and technology and are therefore 13,000 years ahead of us, and the poor schmucks left on the surface, doomed to die in droves, the few survivors of which were shoved back into the Stone Age by the cataclysm that caused the Great Flood.
What a fantastic preview for your book. Wow, that was great. Nicely done, you two. It feels to me like this is not just a hobby. This is something you guys have really put a lot of research and thought and effort into over many, many years. So, Leslie, let's start with you. What threw you guys into the world of UFOs and aliens and non-human intelligence?
Well, Stephen has had 3 UFO sightings before I had my first, and his family had been had very many bizarre experiences, too many to list, really. And then there it was, my first UFO. About 20 years ago, I looked up in the sky while I was driving, and there was a white light up ahead of me that it just hovered there. I thought it was a plane at first, but then it didn't have the little blinky lights or and it wasn't moving like a plane. And it was silent, so it wasn't moving like a helicopter. I mean, helicopters make a lot of noise, right? And so this thing is just getting brighter and brighter in front of us. And then it took off at about, if I were going to guess, I would say 20,000 miles an hour, just supersonic speed. Quarter of a second, it was gone over the northern horizon. And that was about the moment in time where I said, They are real. Because I believe Stephen, but there's always that little kernel of doubt until you see her first, and then I believed him 100% after that.
And Stephen, you had been an experiencer well before that, it sounds like, as well as your family. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, my family's experiences go back 4 generations, starting in Germany, then England, and then both northern and southern California. So I was my first experience actually seeing a UFO. I was about 10 years old, and my first one was about 9 o'clock at night. This is in Woodland Hills, which is in a suburb of Los Angeles. And I just happened to be looking out the front door of the glass when I saw this very large orange globe just floating in the air, and kind of hesitated a little bit, and then it just kept on floating, going from south to north, and just no other lights whatsoever. It was absolutely a UFO. I called Griffith Park Observatory the next day and said, well, we didn't see it because we don't have our telescopes pointed that way. And my second one was, quite frankly, it was a USO back in 2004 in October.
Okay.
I was on at a restaurant called the Chart House.
I love the Chart House.
Yeah, I was at the Chart House. Okay, it was during the baseball playoffs. It was Boston and the Yankees were playing. So I went to go get my car, and the valet brought my car, and we just happened to look out to, again, it was nighttime. Just happened to look out to the sea, and there was this USO that came up out of the ocean, kind of hovered there for a little bit, and then it just shot up, going north up the coast. And we both looked at each other and basically said, "Did you see that?" I said, "Yeah, I saw that." Okay, so that was my second. And I saw another one that was kind of like a mass sighting. It was an early morning sighting in Yucca Valley, as a matter of fact, coming down Old Warm Springs Pass. And it was just a silver cigar that was just hovering there in the morning time. And actually, Gary Danielle on the radio station said, "Are you guys seeing this?" So I'd seen 3 before Leslie saw her first, and then we saw her last together here where we live in Desert Hot Springs in October of 2020, and it was for me, it was like a greeting. There was this
Hi, Steve.
This bright white UFO that was pretty big, and it was silent again. And we have a very small backyard, so it was a very small area of the sky, right? 9:30 at night again. So it was just like saying, "Hey, we know where you are, where you're at." So, and this was doing its zigzag movements, and then it shot off north again.
And it would do a V-shaped movement. When one of our planes wants to turn around, we have to slowly bank around in a U. But this thing was moving at full speed, not slowing down at all, and making these V turns. Just like this.
It was to me, it was one of the best UFO sightings I had seen.
Well, beyond our technology, what we were seeing. So again, it ended up getting shot away at 20,000 miles an hour.
I really started to get into doing research into it about 30 some odd years ago, when I was still an acupuncturist here in California, because things just in my family's history just weren't making sense, and I wanted to find out for myself what this family spirit guide called Old Glegley, that had been following the family for 4 generations, what this family spirit guide really was, because things weren't adding up. So that's what started our journey. Then when Leslie saw her first a UFO, then we started saying, we should do something about this. We should, study it more and try and, get some answers for ourselves.
And as we started comparing notes with other family members, we realized that there were a lot of instances where people would see something bizarre or crazy or strange or whatever, and then suddenly black out, even if they were terrified. So obviously they're not just rolling over and going back to sleep if their heart is pounding and they're sweating, scared,
Yeah, it doesn't
physiologically. It doesn't quite make sense.
Makes no sense.
Right? And it's one of the telltale signatures of the alien abduction phenomenon. After we started doing some research, we realized that's what was going on. And then his brother Philip, a lot of these incidents come in clusters, and Philip had a cluster of 3 where he saw these white lights shining in his room through his bedroom window one night.
This is not the same house, by the way.
No, but he was 16 years old, Central California, and he's staring at these lights trying to figure out what they could be, and then suddenly blacks out. And then the next night he reaches down, he's in bed, he reaches down to pet what he thinks is a cat making noise, and instead a hand grabs his wrist. And he feels this surge of adrenaline and terror,
and then blacks out immediately. And then the third night, he saw a tall gray alien in his room. And this is when we realized what the family is dealing with, who we're dealing with. That's the first and only time.
How old was your brother at the time?
We saw his face.
He was 16.
So he was young.
This is 1982. In 1982, with the Sonora house that we were building, I was a cabinet maker. My dad was a cabinet maker and a contractor. So we were building our own house, a pretty big house, 4,400 square feet. And so my brother, this had nothing to do with the house in Fallbrook, but my experiences happened to me when I was 18. They happened that actually the whole family,
the weirdest ones anyway.
Yeah, the whole family experienced these things over 5 nights and at 2 different homes that were 350 miles apart. I'll just go over them real quick. The first night, my dad was awakened by his closet doors opening and closing on him. And he told me in the morning, and before we went to work, and I just kind of dismissed it, And then the next night, my dad came into my room after I'd given him a book to read, and he said, "Stephen, I'm hearing a silver bell." And my dad, being having been a Bobby in England and being a no-nonsense guy growing up in World War II, I said, "Okay, Dad." So I went into the living room, and sure enough, there was this silver bell being rung inside the wall. Myself being a musician, I know what a silver bell sounds like, and it was inside the 2x4 wall by the chimney. So we got my sister, who was 13 at the time, and she said, "Where's that bell coming from?" And we banged on the wall thinking, well, is it a squirrel or whatever? Looked up the chimney. It kept on going. The next morning, my mom called from the house in Sonora and said, "The funniest thing happened last night, Jeffrey. I heard this bell ringing and I thought it was the phone, and I picked up the phone and there was this voice on the other side saying, 'I am the invisible on Beachy,' or something like that." And then I talked to my brother Philip, who was 14 at the time. No, he was 12. He said, "No, Stephen, the phone never rang, but mom did pick up the phone." So the following night, I was awakened by a whizzing sound in the air in my room, like a whoosh, whoosh. And I thought, well, maybe it was like a bug or something like that. And looked down the hallway, there was nothing there. So decided to go back to sleep. And then the bed was shoved twice from the base of my bed, gentle shoves. And then I tried to ignore it, and then 2 more shoves, a little stronger. Again, tried to ignore it. And then 2 more shoves that were stronger. And at this point, I'm getting kind of annoyed and worried. And then I get 3 distinct taps on my right shoulder, deltoid area. Tap, 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 just like an index finger.
Like a finger, yeah.
Just like an index finger. And at this point, I just said, I'm going to find out what's going on. Is somebody playing a trick on me? And so I rolled over. I said, "What?" And I could tell there was something there, but I couldn't quite see it. And then I blacked out. So the next night, I told my dad at breakfast time, and I told my sister, and the next night I said, "I'm not going to sleep in that room. I don't know what's going on, but I'm not going to sleep in that room." So I slept in my work clothes from the night before on the couch in the living room. And so about 5:30 in the morning, it was dark because it was January of 1979. And I looked at my piano thinking what I was going to play that day, and listened to the fountain in the other room. And from behind me was the front door. So I'm laying face up, right? So from behind me, about 25 feet away, this tall, skinny, blue-white light figure, about 6.5 feet tall or so, came floating, walking towards me. It's like it knew that I was awake, right? And it floated the 25 feet in about 1.5, 2 seconds, stopped by my right-hand side. Immediately, the whole right side of my body becomes paralyzed. I cannot move. Okay, and then it bent down to my ear, and it said, and the whole room, by the way, was filled with blue-white light too at the same time. It brought all the blue-white light with it.
Like it was electric or something.
And it said to me, "Hi, Steve," in a voice that I couldn't tell was male or female. And I was thinking, I'm going to see the family spirit guide, Old Glegley, that I've heard about since being a kid, that has been following the family. So I'm thinking I'm going to see Old Glegley. But the other half of me is saying, dude, you are paralyzed. You can't move. And so I guess maybe the fear kind of overtook the situation. And about 5 or 10 seconds after being there, I was trying to see the face of the thing. I could kind of tell the face, but I couldn't see it really. And then it left. And then I black out. So the interesting part, which, a lot of people talk about, seeing things, whatever. Well, I had physical effect on my body.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something weird.
I had a physical effect, which my dad, if we were still alive, my sister can confirm it. She's still alive, but my dad, about 11:30 in the morning, we were getting hungry. We're workmen, so I wanted to say, let's go down to Jack in the Box. So I was pulling out the coins in my right-hand side pocket, put them on the table, and all the coins, standard American coins, they're all magnetic. They're all magnetized. I could pick up the coins by the edge, by the face, didn't matter. And my dad could do the same thing. We're just looking at each other at this point saying, what is going on? And it ended up the final night, which I have no recollection of. My dad saw this wall of blue-white light outside of my bedroom door, and he, as an ex-cop, said, I'm going to get up and see what's going on. This is getting ridiculous. So he was getting out of bed, going to go, confront the blue-white light, and this voice inside his head said, Jeffrey, just go back to sleep. Nothing to see here. Everything's okay. And that's what he did. He went back to sleep. And I have no recollection of what happened at that at all. I do not know whether they took me, whether they took some of my sperm, or what they did. I have
we haven't been
no
able
clue.
to break through the.
Yeah.
We tried with hypnosis to break through this.
I was going to ask if you had tried.
Of the blackout periods, but we haven't been able to so far.
I had visitations come from the age of 3. I used to be visited by this invisible being that was like a small garden gnome, I think, or like a cat that was invisible that used to play with me we used to jump on my chest and my stomach in the middle of the night and wake me up. And I couldn't see it, but it was definitely jumping on me. And then my brother, he started sleeping in the closet for 2 years at about the age of 8. And he slept there for 2 years in the closet. And I said, Philip, why are you sleeping in the closet? I said, well, I'm afraid of the little men that come in the night.
The little men.
And I had an experience with seeing little, what I call garden gnomes, shimmery garden gnomes, about 4 or 5, that were literally walking into our bedroom doorway when I was about his age. And I just looked at them, and then I got scared and I turned over. So I understood.
A lot of times, people will sometimes remember parts of their abductions, but they frequently they can't remember the face of their abductor, or they'll remember it different. They'll remember it like an owl or a gnome, or like the boys both saw gnomes.
When we were young,
Stephen's mother one time saw them as Chinese people jumping out of a UFO in her living room. And I think they tamper with people's memories. And a lot of times the family were describing these memories as being kind of shimmery. And I think that is a sign of memory tampering, this shimmery quality to the memories.
And my uncle, whose life was saved by this old ugly character, saw him as a tall, skinny black man wearing a red fez.
Yet another face.
When he was stationed in Ceylon at the time, post World War II, saved his life.
And Steve remembers him as this tall, blue electric being.
And Philip remembers him as being a tall gray.
But Stephen, the coins magnetized in his pocket. This is the American coins are specifically designed not to become magnetic, so that they can go in vending machines and stuff, right? So we surmise that he was taken, and while taken, he was exposed to some very powerful electromagnetic field.
I honestly don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
Wild. That is all so wild. Some of the things that you talked about remind me so much of Bob Salas, who we had on our show, who's been visited as well. He was part of the Maelstrom Air Force Base that the UFOs shut down the nuclear weapons. I also have a friend who doesn't really believe in extraterrestrials, but she talks about having a ghost cat. She thinks that there's a cat that she feels walking on her sometimes at night, which just when you said that about what you were experiencing was crazy. Okay, you guys have had so many wonderful, wild experiences. I won't be able to sleep for weeks after hearing all of them. And that's just sort of a problem I have with this show because I can never sleep after I have guests on. But let's go. I'm going to throw it to Tim a little bit because we do want to get into how all of this combined with your history to get to the book and where you are today. And you also have incredible backgrounds in terms of careers that you've had too. But I know Tim wanted to dive into some more of the abductions.
Sure.
Thanks, CJ. And I wanted to play just one of CJ's favorite tracks from my soundboard.
Yeah.
She loves the scary music track.
Mhm.
So we did have a couple of great comments here that I wanted to pull up, and including this one from Cosmic Convergence, who says some of your experiences that you just mentioned, Mr. Shaw, is what I've experienced as well. We all have pieces of the puzzle to bring to the table that fit together.
Well spoke, sir. In fact, or madam, I'm sorry, I don't know.
I personally haven't heard anybody say anything like what specifically I had, where they had direct contact and then their coins were magnetized.
No, that's a weird one. That particular one we haven't heard anywhere else.
This is 6 hours after the experience, and my dad could pick them up too. And it's just I've tried to use strong magnets, and I haven't been able to repeat it.
But that person that was writing in, we have an Instagram page, and we're kind of collecting people's experiences and making posts about them, and sometimes videos about them. I have some friends that they've come to. We've made friends, with other abductees through the Instagram page, and that's at leslie.shaw.author. So I'm sorry to get that shameless plug in there, but if you'd like to share your experiences with us, we'd love to hear them.
We're kind of choosy. We really tend to like to meet the people and get our own
well, that's not possible through Instagram, of course.
But we try our best.
We've met some locals though that way.
Yes, we have. There's a lot of locals up in this area that have had. It's a hotbed for UFO sightings. That's for sure.
It's kind of funny. One lady we've met, Stephen describes when he's been abducted and the blackout period is over, he wakes up in his bed all nicely, neatly tucked in. She always woke up face down on the wood floor next to her bed. I thought, these guys,
I've had a few friends like that.
And they're much nicer, Oh, let's tuck the kid back in.
That's when I was a kid, Leslie. Okay.
Yeah.
I have no idea what they'd be doing to me these days. So.
Yeah, I don't know either.
What's so interesting, I think, is that California is indeed such a hotbed of activity, but our own co-host, the Unexplained CJ, never experienced those to her knowledge.
Oh, well, I was afraid of the dark, so I didn't go outside at night. But the desert, especially where they are, I mean, you get blue skies every single day. You wake up and you go to bed with blue skies in the desert. And so I'm not surprised that there are more sightings there than we have here, where we've got cloud cover quite often.
True. That's one assistant to it too. And
plus,
I think, the Integratron is here. There's some weird things here that I think sort of draw UFO activity.
They're all in the 33rd parallel, which is like Stonehenge and things like that.
And there's a big marine base nearby, which I believe is
the largest marine base in the world. It's almost 1,000 square miles.
We think they like to keep tabs on our military and our nuclear weapons.
That's for sure they do.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. We've definitely, talked to a lot of people about that. And CJ brought up Bob Salas, who was on the show with us. And you mentioned, about possibly having some sort of extraction from your body. And he did reveal to us that he indeed was abducted by aliens. And this is not common knowledge about Bob Salas. Because, right, everybody knows about his experience at the nuclear facility.
Yeah, the Malmstrom incident, sure.
Correct.
Everyone knows that.
Which actually inspired.
He was abducted in Torrance, California.
Wait, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's where I was raised.
He probably went to the chart house first. No.
Okay.
Getting kind of spooky.
We deserve the scary music on that one because, wow.
He's
You're
in our
right,
book.
CJ.
We mentioned the Malmstrom incident, of course, in the book, and also that later they a bunch of generals got together and compared, that were part of the nuclear, our nuclear departments, at various, like the research and development people, and also the different military men at different bases. They all got together and did a press conference at one point, and Salas is the one that put it together. Very fascinating reading. It's in our book too, but a small mention of it. In the first chapter, we had to do this thing where I had to assume that some people would pick up the book that knew nothing about the UFO phenomenon. And so chapter 1 is like this brief UFO 101 history.
It's a recap of the last 80 years in the United States.
Almost bullet
How do you
pointed,
put that in
so
one
it's
chapter?
like catches people up, you know, and then chapter 2 is the more recent disclosure stuff that's been going on. As of 22 is when we finished writing the book. But okay, go ahead, dear.
No, I said you probably had some more questions, right?
Oh yeah,
I know we're on like a time schedule here.
Well, we're so happy to have Leslie and Stephen Shaw with us tonight, authors of Who They Are and What They're Up To. And you can pick that up on Amazon and on their website, which we have in the show description. So look at the show notes. You can find that. And you can also find a direct link in the show notes to purchase their book, Who They Are and What They're Up To. So yeah, Leslie and Stephen, Bob Sallis told us about his abduction experience and said that they did painfully remove semen from his body, which was horrifying to find out. And one thing we've noticed is that as we do talk to a lot of people, and a lot of people shared things with us off the air, you know, there's a lot more of these experiences than you would think. I think that your coin thing is fascinating because it kind of proves that there is a physical, what you would say, real world component to all this.
Right.
And one thing that y'all said, it struck me, you talked about owls. Some people see owls and different things. We had somebody tell us off the air, off the record, that they had experiences with giant praying mantises looking in their windows. Have y'all heard of such a description as that before?
Yes, one of the people I'm in contact with on Instagram, he's says he's been having sex with a female insectoid alien, and it's been a long-term thing. And he actually was recently introduced to one of his children, one of their children, and I asked him. I said, "Okay, so you're having sex with her. Is she skeletally different than we are?" And he said, "No, she has the same skeletal frame, but she has, you know, a head with like almost like, you know, the Triceratops fan that goes behind their horns, the big fan thing. There's something a little bit like that." And
I think it's a disguise myself. I think it's whatever. I mean, the female has to have the same reproductive organs if they're actually having sex, so it's got to be the same as a human female for it to happen in the first place.
Right.
And the breeding, and see, that's the whole thing too. Why our research has found that they've been here for a long time. They're more likely than not cousins because they so commonly breed with us and produce hybrids. I mean, they're not like coming from Arcturus and Lyra and, you know, all these other places, the Pleiades.
Right.
I mean, what's a number? And the other thing is too, why would they be so interested in us, especially after the timing is very important here, especially after World War II or even during World War II when the Foo Fighters started showing up.
Right.
They were really worried about producing nukes. And people forget. Sorry, I'll be real quick here.
Okay.
People forget that since World War II, there have been 2,000 basically detonations of hydrogen and atomic weapons. Those are air detonations, subsurface detonations, and also water detonations. We've done that 2,000 times. And if that doesn't catch somebody's attention that is living here already and cause concern, I would be very surprised.
When we started, you know, sifting UFO data, and I mean, we're talking mountains of it, and abduction data, we started realizing that the theory of them coming from distant star systems just wasn't fitting with the evidence that we had. And one of the things Stephen had in his possession when I met him was this, it's a copy of Admiral Byrd's lost diary. I mean, his posthumously published diary.
First edition I got, 92.
And it tells a story about
Antarctica,
meeting, you know, these people, this race of men under the ice sheet of Antarctica. And there's also the Operation High Jump evidence was that he went down there and was attacked. His armada was attacked by flying saucers. And he then flew a plane into this giant hole at the base of Antarctica that we now know about thanks to Linda Moulton Howe's research. and we think he flew down into this underworld, under the ice sheet world, and met with the Ariani. And once we applied the idea that this is actually a separated race of men
of
humanity is flying the UFOs, then suddenly everything clicked together and started making sense. This is why they're seen 10,000 times a year, every year, going back hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years. This is why they're so crazy worried about our nukes, is because they live here with us. They're sharing the planet with us, right, in these underground bases.
Yeah, the master, in fact, what Leslie was going to say, the master said to Admiral Byrd, said, kept on referring to him, what is my son, right?
My son, yeah,
and
like
again,
he was a child of his,
a very tall Nordic-looking gentleman with long flowing hair, and he said, normally we don't have anything to do with you barbarians on the surface,
people, yeah.
But now that you guys have cracked, you basically split the atom, now we're sincerely worried because you're basically children playing around with something that you should not be playing around with. You're not. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. And then, so we think Admiral Byrd became aware of these people during Operation High Jump, went back to Washington, was debriefed, and then muzzled for the rest of his life, except for this diary he wrote and then never published while alive. And we think that, so the U.S. was aware of these beings from the mid 40s. And we think they did meet with Eisenhower. And the aliens that were described meeting with Eisenhower were the Nordics, which is the same people as the ones that Byrd describes as well, as these Nordic-looking people, essentially. And they look like people. And then there's also the evidence of Valiant Thor, who was at the Pentagon for 3 years. He landed a spaceship in Virginia Field and said, "Take me to your leader," essentially.
Essentially, yeah.
And they did. And he was actually a consultant at the Pentagon for like 3 years. This guy was a redheaded Caucasian man. And once again, and then going back for thousands of years, these watchers are breeding with us. These gods are breeding with us. They used to play God with us because they were so much further ahead technologically than we are. But essentially, they are humans. And we think we know what caused the separation between our races. And we think we know when it happened.
Yeah, we're pretty sure.
Yeah. It was something I brought to our relationship. I had read this guy's book named Fraser. He wrote it in the 1700s. He had dug up 500 separate cultures that have a flood myth in their most ancient lore. And since that time, there have only been more discovered. So there's actually like 1,200 separate Noah stories all over the world, all different cultures. So it was looking more and more like this was really a shared event that we really all did experience.
There really was a great flood, yeah.
And then in soil that was 13,000 years old, they discovered nanodiamonds, which we think...
about 30 years ago we found out.
Yeah, 30 years ago they discovered nanodiamonds. And nanodiamonds only are formed during celestial impact events. So 13,000 years ago, there was a big extinction event in North America. The Clovis people were wiped out, the mammoth, the mastodon, the saber-toothed cat, a bunch of animals from the plains were all wiped out. And we surmised that it was some sort of celestial impact. And then when the nanodiamonds were discovered in that soil,
the Stellar Horizon.
That's the smoking gun proof that somewhere there was a celestial impact. And since we thought the Hiawatha one might be right, but it wasn't. It turned out there is a 13,000-year-old crater of it's called the Younger Dryas comet that struck
Lake Superior area.
It was we were still in an ice age back then, just coming out of it. So Lake Superior was actually covered by the ice sheet. So it struck the ice sheet. And it's the cause of why Siberian mammoths were frozen solid with food still in their mouths.
And the palm trees with fruit still on them.
Yeah, there's fruit trees with actual fruit frozen on the tree, which, if you know anything about fruit, when it's exposed to an early frost, it has fruit on it, it'll just drop the fruit, so the tree can survive. But this means that it was flash frozen so fast that couldn't happen.
So they found this Usella horizon, this 1-inch thick layer of dirt that shows that at least 10 different countries on 4 different continents in the northern hemisphere were on fire at the same time.
The air bursts.
Yeah,
from
so
the
what it did, it
comet
shoved us right back into the younger Dryas, right?
Yeah, the Younger Dryas boundary after the comet hit. There's a boundary about 1,100 years after that shows drastic climate upheavals. Nobody would have been able to grow crops. So what we think happened was kind of like a deep impact scenario. In the movie, mankind is about to be destroyed by an asteroid, right? And so plan A is to send some astronauts out to destroy the asteroid.
The 2 asteroids, yes.
But plan B is to sink these deep underground arcs and put like 50,000 of the cream of our crop down there to survive the cataclysm and make sure they have all our technology with them and their knowledge. So we think this actually did happen. Before this comet struck, we think because almost all of these flood myths start with a warning from God.
Everyone has a forewarning of a year or two.
Almost every one of them saying.
So we have to be quite advanced.
Somebody on this planet had advanced astronomy. Right, to be able to calculate, we're going to get hit by this comet. So we think that different continents sank these different arcs deep underground or under the ice sheet of Antarctica, and that this particular branch of our race, they did not lose their technology. Therefore, they are 13,000 years ahead of us, technologically speaking.
And the linchpin, the whole thing that really nailed it home for me as being more into the medical field and sciences is when I found out that, now with our advancements in DNA and in cracking the genome of the human being, we've been able to find that about 13,000 years ago, that the people of the earth were reduced to about 10,000 individuals. So that's what we call a genetic bottleneck.
Yeah.
So there was obviously some event, and these all snicked together.
Yeah.
They all snick together. It's the right timing, it's the evidence, and it's still Colonel Mustard in the kitchen, but instead of Colonel Mustard in the kitchen with a knife, it's Colonel Mustard in the kitchen. I'm Colonel Mustard with a knife in the living room, because instead of
kidding, Hiawatha,
you see, Hiawatha is in the northern part of Greenland, and so we first thought it was that, but it's been dated to 58 million years ago. So when we wrote the book, all the scientists were saying that it looks like it's pretty much probably the smoking gun.
Is the responsible,
but since they found it out, it happened 12,850 years ago in the Lake Superior area, and it was a comet. And I've been saying that for 30 years, that whatever took out the animals in Siberia, it probably was a comet, because all the extra water that was introduced into the atmosphere.
Well, also when it hit the ice sheet,
it vaporized
1,500 gigatons of ice, and a gigaton is 100 billion tons. So 1,500 of those got vaporized and put into water vapor up in the sky. So when in the flood myth of Noah, it's like, it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. I think you should add a 0 to the 40. It's more like 400 days and 400 nights it rained,
So it's a small extinction event where you believe that they were separated from the races were separated?
Correct.
On purpose.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And how does the Babylonian creation myth tie into all these things? I noticed you wrote about that in your book. That was very interesting.
Yes, I found it fascinating. Well, we've been talking about 13,000 years ago and what we think caused the separation of our race. And people frequently ask us, so are aliens involved at all? And it looks like the answer might be yes, because 300,000 years ago, it looks like our genome is actually showing signs of tampering. And that there's a couple of missing links in the human development. One is between Australopithecine and Homo habilis, That's the early missing link. But there's another big one between Homo erectus and Homo sapien that was about 300,000 years ago. And Stephen, you said you're showing what part of the brain again shows signs of tampering?
It's Broca's brain. It's the neocortex, and there's according to Jason Martell and some recent CRISPR type of stuff where they're mapping the neocortex, which is the most recent part of the human Homo sapien brain, it's looking like a CRISPR job, almost like a cut and paste, and the speech area that was done on the inside instead of the outside of the neocortex, which basically influences and gives us our ability to speak. So, and able to, like, for instance, to build a pyramid, you have to have the ability to be able to like draw blueprints, and you have to have plans. You have to have a force.
Creative thinking.
You have to have creative thinking.
The Homo erectus was basically still an animal, still drinking water like, chimps do, right? Out of a stream. But where Homo sapien, we invent things. We make houses to sit in and
cups to drink out of,
chairs to sit on, and cups to drink out of. So the difference between the two brains is amazing. It's like 1 million years of evolution that happened in just a few thousand years.
In a very short period of time, yeah.
So if we were, like the Sumerian tablets say, if that they uplifted us, that these Anunnaki gods came from another planet. I mean, it's not us saying this, right? This is the Sumerian tablets that say exactly this, that their gods came here from another planet and were mining gold and wanted to uplift the Homo erectus into a smart enough animal to work in the mines, right? So they made us as kind of a slave race. And if this is true, it appears it to be, because we certainly didn't uplift ourselves, somebody had to come along and uplift us, and the genetic evidence is there. Then we're all a little bit alien, because they're supposed to have used their DNA to mix with Homo erectus in order to make us.
Yeah.
So then we're all alien a little bit, right?
Oh, I think we're all alien. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I want to jump in here real quick. And I know Smitty had some more possible history questions for you. But I heard a great analogy the other day, and somebody was talking about, the potential difference between alien intellect and ours. Well, all you have to do is look at the chimpanzee, right? What we consider a brilliant primate, but yet the chimpanzee, the smartest chimpanzee, is not ever going to be capable, even in the simplest of tasks. Like if you ever tell a chimpanzee, you know what, can you pick up some juice on the way home today? It's never going to be able to do it, right? Ever. We'll never be able to do what our toddlers can basically even do. So if aliens are that advanced from us,
even when they train
scary.
a chimp or a gorilla to talk, with the things,
Coco.
They can't like look at a picture of an apple and see it as an apple. That abstract thinking is something that humanity got that they don't have.
I've got to share something real quick here.
Okay.
When I was at the experiencers group at this past weekend at Contact in the Desert, there's this well-known psychic guy's been doing this for like 40 years, and apparently it's on the internet. It's pretty popular, where he met with Coco the gorilla while she was still alive, and according to him, talking to her in sign language and also both psychically, but mostly sign language, Coco thinks that human beings are stupid to start with. Thinks that human beings are stupid. And she said this to him. She said that when a flower dies, the earth dies. When a tree dies, the earth dies. When humans die, the earth lives, because humans come from up there. Even Coco says that we are not native to the earth. In fact, when astronauts go into space, within like a week or a very short period of time, their biorhythms sync up to the day on Mars.
Yeah.
Okay, so
circadian rhythm
of the day on Mars, which is really, really fascinating when you think about it. Or even Coco thinks we're stupid.
Leslie and Stephen, I had to ask y'all something real quick. Do you think that they enslaved us to mine gold, or what is your best theory for why did they enslave us?
I think that's one of the reasons.
Yeah, we think so, because according to the Sitchin's books and the tablets, that their own workers were working these mines for like 150,000 years, And finally, they just revolted. They said enough, and at this point, supposedly the head Anunnaki guy was named Enlil. His brother was the genius of the two, though, and he put his brother on, and Nin Herseg, their sister, was the head medical officer. They supposedly put the two of them on creating a worker from Homo erectus, basically uplifting our brain to be able to think creatively and speak and communicate with our masters and do a job, be smart enough to do a job.
And their lifespan is apparently it's totally different than ours, and they're close to immortal. Right. They're not completely immortal, but they use certain things to like enhance, increase their longevity. We're doing the same thing right now. We're like messing around now, saying that a human being can live to be at least 150 years. So we're extending our lifespan. So
I wanted to answer Smitty's question about the Enuma Elish. That's the
Babylonian.
That's the Babylonian creation myth. Supposedly, there's a Sumerian version that in Babylonia, Marduk was the head Anunnaki, and so he's the hero in the story.
Right.
But one of the things that I really thought was fascinating about the Enuma Elish is it happens to fit some of the crazy facts about our solar system. Our solar system has the asteroid belt, and these asteroids show signs of having been a planet at one point, because they're made of minerals that are only forged inside the cores of planets.
Very heavy elements. Yes.
Irons and whatnot. So where the asteroid belt, there used to be a planet there, and according to the Enuma Elish, this planet of the Anunnaki billions of years ago, coming through our solar system, crashed into another planet called Tiamat, and half of the planet was turned into rubble, and the other half of the planet shot off and became the Earth. And one of the moons of this big planet shot off and went with the Earth and became our satellite, one of our satellite. And that explains why we have this crazy huge moon for being such a small planet, right? And then it explains that, and on its way out of the solar system, Nibiru, this planet of the Anunnaki, supposedly gained kind of close to one of Saturn's moons and dragged it further out into the solar system. And this moon became Pluto. And that explains why Pluto has this bizarre orbit, right? So a lot of the things that are true about our planet, our solar system, happen to be explained in this ancient Sumerian or a Babylonian myth,
Also they count from the outside, and they count Pluto as number one.
Yeah, I thought that was fun.
Yeah, so
the Sumerians count Pluto as 1 and Neptune as 2, like they're counting them from coming out in. You know what I mean? Like from coming out of our solar system in.
Yeah.
That's incredible information. I had not heard that before. So that's all new to me, which is exciting. It does seem like some of our listeners here that are chiming in have indeed heard that. If this is information that you guys love, if you are listening to Leslie and Stephen Shaw right now and thinking, I need to know more, please be sure to check out their book, Who They Are and What They're Up To. All of these theories are in there based on many, many years of research that they have been doing in this realm. So thank you guys for sharing this information from us. I wanted to touch on just a few more things from the book before we get to our listener questions and hot takes. And we've got some great listener questions that we want to pull in just a moment. We covered so much already that I wanted to bring up. So I'm going to skip a few of these questions that we had here, but cattle mutilations, animal mutilations, that's something that you guys showed in your teaser for your book. Why do you think those are happening, and do you think they're connected?
Well, we believe that when these people 13,000 years ago went underground, they also took some herd animals. They took the animals of man with them. And one of the reasons we think they're abducting humans is because we think they may have become, their population may be less viable, having been living underground for so long. and they may need regular infusions of surface person DNA.
Same thing with domestic animals.
It
too.
could be the same with their herds. That's why they're taking just the sex organs and I don't know why they want the eye and the tongue. Maybe they are a delicacy of some kind.
Maybe it tastes good.
But they're definitely taking all the sex organs of the animals and the blood.
And all the blood.
All the blood.
All the blood.
Or it's a Jeepers Creepers type of thing if you've seen that
Yeah, but
movie.
you see, we only hear about the cows, but it's all the domestic animals.
Yeah,
and
the
sometimes
goats, horses.
sometimes some of the wild animals too, but it's mostly domestic.
Almost always domestic, but there are exceptions.
And we got to give them credit too. They are much further ahead. They play with genetics like we would play with a Lego set or building blocks, just like simple. So yeah, obviously they could maybe use the cow blood, actually use it as human blood. We don't know, but they are definitely look how far we've gone ourselves in the past 100 years.
Right.
You know, this would be completely science fiction what we're doing right now. I mean, we watched the old Star Trek, and they're using these communicators. They look like really cheap and crappy.
They were like the flip phones.
Flip phones, you know. So yeah, we're light years ahead. You know, in fact, our seatbelt technology is much better than theirs in the future.
I remember Star Trek. There, every time they fly across the room. You know.
Oh gosh, I guess I need to check out Star Trek and Jeepers Creepers. I'll put those on my list. Okay, so we've got that figured out. Do you think that our government is currently collaborating with?
Definitely.
That's a big yes.
Yeah, big yes. We think they met with Eisenhower in early 50s, and what their big ask was, what they really, really want from us, is they want us to denuclearize. And obviously they didn't get their big ask, but we think they did make some sort of a treaty to keep the secret of their existence. And the government has kept their end of that bargain up very well, keeping the secret as best they can. And, you know, clamping down on anything whenever there's some sort of incident in a town. They clamp down on it fast. They send their men in black and they grab all the evidence for themselves and threaten all the witnesses into silence. And so they're definitely working in league. And, you know, MUFON and all the other ufology organizations, we have this kind of underground buzz of where these underground bases are. And a lot of these bases are U.S. military / alien bases.
And in other countries, it's the same thing, you know.
Yeah.
In Russia, they got their equivalent of Area 51, which is I forget where it is. It's somewhere near Siberia, but it's also very, very secretive.
Whew. Wow, we've covered a lot in a short period of time, and I guess it's actually been longer than I realized. But we do. Can you guys hang around just a little bit longer so we can get some hot takes from you?
Sure.
Listener questions. Okay, Tim, did you have some hot takes, or did you want to jump into listener questions?
Oh, I've got some hot takes.
Okay.
All right. If Leslie and Stephen don't mind sticking around for a little bit longer, this has been great. The chat is jumping over on our YouTube. We're also streaming live to the All Things Unexplained Twitter. That's at AT Unexplained, and to the Unexplained CJ's
I have
Twitter.
3 followers. Thank you.
No, you're up to 11, I think now.
Tim in Cosmic Convergence.
You could find her on Twitter, I think, at unexplained_CJ.
And I have so few followers that you can actually reach me and chat with me.
Oh, yeah.
Jonathan from Cosmic Convergence can attest.
She's available for chatting on Twitter. So
you can just send me smoke signals if you need to get
Smitty, we've already said in this chat, Smitty is a little bit like a Sasquatch, rare sightings of the Smitty. But thanks to Leslie and Stephen Shaw for being here with us tonight. They are the authors of Who They Are and What They're Up To. You can pick that up through links in the show descriptions. Thanks to all the people here in the chat and watch us on YouTube and Twitter. So I do have some hot takes. I'm not going to do too many, even though I've got a lot for Leslie and Stephen. But Leslie and Stephen, I would be remiss, and I want to get some of these comments back up because we're having some great comments. Maybe CJ can help me with that. But I would be remiss if I didn't revisit this insectoid sex situation. Who was having the insectoid sex?
He's an Instagram friend, and therefore he's anonymous. I don't have a name.
Oh, I see.
Like a lot of people who contact us, they want to stay anonymous. So I use him as a sounding board when I want to ask questions about the insectoids. Uh, we were talking about CRISPR a few minutes ago. We think that these beings, the Nordics, are kind of the ones in charge, and that they make hybrid beings whenever it suits their needs. That they don't, like we quibble at the idea of changing the human being, genetically speaking, but they have no such qualms, we believe. So we think that's what the reptilians are, is when they need reptilians to do, I don't know, lots of underwater work, say, they breed some reptilians. So I don't know exactly what the insectoids are for precisely, but I think they serve some purpose that they need, and that's why they bred them.
And we recently found an ocean, at least scientifically found an ocean apparently that's subsurface. I don't know whether it's 100 miles below or 50 miles, but apparently there's an ocean that is equal or bigger than all of our oceans combined. So obviously there'd be plenty of time for maybe a reptiloid race or modified reptiloid race.
Right.
There's obviously a huge ocean there, which a lot of people don't know about that. So
right.
Right. And believe it or not, I've actually had conversations about insectoid sex on Twitter. So I want to post this question to our listeners. Chime in on the chat with your thoughts about this, and to CJ and Smitty and Leslie and Steven. Sex with an insectoid, is it illegal? Because
only
it's
in that
not a
they're
human,
abducting the
right?
people they're having sex with. So
Well,
they're raping and abducting them.
right. And if they just chose to, though, like legally, I've always said, well, sex with an animal, for example, that's illegal. That's bestiality.
I
That's
don't know
illegal.
whether it's sodomy or bestiality
Yeah.
or whatever, but it's funny how people pick up on certain things.
Yeah.
It's like, the least important thing I thought about was the insectoid thing, but it's
Well, we think that we think they're cousins to us. They're close cousins to us. So genetically speaking, we think no, they're not having sex with animals. Because they're able to breed with us. That's one of the big things that is like.
That's one of the big giveaways.
Yeah, this bizarre breeding program they have going on with us, making hybrids, and frequently the women are reporting having sex with aliens, and so they're getting pregnant via sex.
Oh yes.
Not like some genetic modification and fertilization, in vitro fertilization.
This was the other big giveaway for me, since with obstetrics and ultrasounds, a lot of these women report being pregnant and going to the doctor. Ultrasound shows they have a fetus that's developing, and it seems to be about the 4 to 4.5 month mark when the fetus develops to be about 5 centimeters, or about roughly the size of a baseball. The fetus and the placenta and everything just disappears.
Yeah.
And the doctor will say, you were pregnant, but as far as this ultrasound shows and test shows, you were never pregnant. And this will happen to some women 2, 3, 4 times sometimes.
Yeah, it's like they vacuum out the womb
in a way that is very, very careful, obviously.
Yeah. So there is some talk of the Dulce papers talk about a security guard going to some of the lower levels of one of these underground bases and discovering aliens being grown in vats.
And human hybrids.
Hybrid aliens and full gray aliens were in these hundreds of vats. And we think that's what they do with the fetuses when they take them. They put them in these vats to finish.
Super disturbing.
growing.
And I want to follow up on that. It's not a hot take per se, but are we in danger?
In danger in what way? As far as being integrated or overtaken,
or just with abduction? Like I have wondered, what does the general population, we heard this used as perhaps the reason why disclosure won't happen, because it would be catastrophic disclosure. People thought that, wow, the government literally cannot stop us from being abducted by aliens. But what do you think the general population should think about
Their
this?
secret, even though they're taking their people.
they've given us drips and drabs like fiber optics and Velcro and other stuff, and we've reverse engineered stuff. We pretty much know that, and all the world's major governments are in league. they've caught like Russian and Chinese diplomats on hot mics saying, like, you'd be surprised how many of them are walking amongst us right now.
Right.
So yeah, I
So-
mean, as far as their end game, I think their end game is twofold.
I think
They
they're
want
integration, right?
Yeah, it's integration, and they want to save the planet. Right now, I think they're not doing a very good job.
Yeah.
But it's like, but it's also too, they can't show their hand too much because, we saw what happened in 1938 with War of the Worlds. People in the United States just freaked out. I think that it would be a lot less of a freak out because it's been a couple of generations of kids watching Star Wars and Star Treks and dressing up as furries.
Yeah, or pop culture in
that kind
general.
of stuff. So, but the thing is, what it would do, a full reveal would upset the world's religions for one thing, the stock markets, all kinds of stuff. Human beings are xenophobic. We basically fear what's different than us. So yeah, it would be. It's really kind of. I think right now, honestly, I think it's us. We're the ones who are prolonging the release of evidence. I think they wanted to come forward a lot earlier and say, listen, we're cousins, and we're sorry for doing what we've been doing, but we have been hijacking your women, we have been getting them pregnant, and we have been taking your animals, but this is what we need to survive, but we want to help you and stop you from killing the planet.
And because we don't know why they're doing what they're doing, except we do know they want us to denuclearize and take better care of the planet. And they weren't getting their way, right? So we think they're trying to change us from the inside out slowly. And we think that's what this slow integration is with us. And
That actually sounds a lot like the art of war.
Yeah, exactly. The AI is really actually more of a threat than people think. It's I went to a seminar not long ago. Yeah, AI will. It's just you see what the billionaires are doing. The billionaires are buying property in New Zealand. This is not
Hawaii.
This is not weird, social media crap.
Yeah, it's
true.
true.
This is what's happening. They're actually building homes,
underground bunkers, and
big
stuff,
big places underground, spending hundreds of millions of dollars and building properties underground. Okay, do they know something that we don't know?
And we had a listener point that out, and we have friends in New Zealand. Shout out to the Cryptid Women's Society in New Zealand. So we'll have to ask them about that. Leslie and Stephen, I wanted to get your hot take on a former guest of ours, perhaps the most famous UFO abductee of all time, Travis Walton.
Oh, yes.
Oh, we met him. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What do you think about Travis and his story?
Travis always looks a little bit shell-shocked, but when he gets speaking, like we saw him on a panel, he's very he can elucidate his thoughts. He's very eloquent. But he's very skinny, and he's just one of these guys who looks like he has walking PTSD.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
he's actually he's a smart man.
But actually, we have him in the book because one of our theories is that the Nordics use the Greys as like a slave race now. We think they used to use us, but we make terrible slaves, right?
Slaves.
So we think they've engineered the Grey alien races as worker bees. That's why they're so emotionless. No matter how much terror they're evoking in their abductees or pain they're causing them,
doesn't faze them.
Doesn't bother them at all. Yeah, they're very goal driven. They never stand around wondering what to do next. So we think that that's what's going on with the Greys.
Oh, I have this about like 1 minute. I have this one thing to share. I was sitting next to a psychotherapist in this experiencer group over the weekend at Contact, and she had this child, a boy that was born with cerebral palsy and a couple other things. Wasn't like given much time to live at all. He lived to be 21 years of age, but when he was a baby, she was awake in the middle of the night. She called it sleep paralysis. She saw these 4 Greys that were looking at her, and then there's this one tall Grey that was standing back in the corner, and the Greys were communicating with her, with telepathy, saying, why is your little baby so sick? Why does this happen? And they went over to the baby who couldn't even pull himself up because he was so sick with cerebral palsy, and they were looking at him, and the baby was laughing. And then she was watching them, whatever, for a while, and then she blacks out. So in the morning, she wakes up and she realized, oh, I hadn't given his bottle. And so apparently what happened, the Greys must have given him his bottle of milk, and they sat him up with a nice pillow. So he was all happy, and he was drinking, and he lived to the age of 21, which he wasn't supposed to. So anyways, that was I really believe that story because it was really believable the way she told it.
But what I was saying about Travis was when he was first taken to the ship, he describes Greys. The Greys are around him, right?
Yes.
And then later he freaks out, and the Greys back off. And then he sees two Nordic aliens come in that he thinks are humans, because guess what? They look just like humans. And he thinks, oh God, I'm being rescued. He thought the humans had come to rescue him. But then he realizes that these are aliens as well. And they actually take him around the ship a little bit. And it was proof in our minds that our theory about the Nordics and the Greys working together is evident in his story. And these are not, once again, we're not talking about separate races coming from, one's from Arcturus and one's from the Pleiades and one's from over here and over there. We think that they're basically here and have been here.
Right, for a long time.
They are sharing the solar system with us. We think they have bases on Mars and possibly the moon and Phobos, Mars's moon. But so in that way, yes, they're extraterrestrial, but we don't think of them as extraterrestrials. We think of them as
cousins,
and intraterrestrials is a word we kind of coined.
We call intraterrestrials. Yeah.
Awesome. And I know you talk about this in your book. This might be my last hot take. You talk about this in your book, who they are and what they're up to. You can pick that up in the show descriptions. But I was speaking to my friends earlier tonight. Shout out to Toby and Paul. Toby writes for the Daily Roswell Record, the Daily Record of the Daily Roswell. And Paul does the UFO tours in Roswell. And I know you talk about Roswell in your book, but Paul, what are your hot takes on Roswell, the Roswell incident from 1947?
Paul? You mean us?
Sorry, Leslie and Stephen.
Well, Roswell, okay, so in the, once we set off the bombs, the nuclear bombs, I think they became quite alarmed, and they started following our planes, the Foo Fighters. That's what the Foo Fighters were, right?
From 44 on, yeah.
And we think that they suddenly had to make it where they follow our planes and all our ships and follow all our kind of keep tabs on our nuclear power, our nuclear weapons all the time now. And so I think this was a strain on their resources, and they pulled some of these ships of theirs. I think they maybe pulled them out of mothballs, and they had Greys manning them so that if they did crash, at least the Nordics didn't have to die too, right? So I think that's why these crashes started happening, and there's actually a fair number of them. And we think this is another reason that they don't really care so much about the bodies, because they're this slave automaton race that they've created.
Apparently it's about 104 according to what's it, Dolan? Was Dolan the one who wrote the book?
115.
115 that have been
crashes.
Documented. And some of these actually predate. In fact, in Italy, Mussolini had one that was in the mid 30s or so, and there's been many in Russia.
Yeah, there's some predate humans having flight. Some are in the late 1800s and stuff. So
right, David Grush brought up the Italy one.
Yeah. So we think that they're crashing their ships once in a while. But the thing that was different with Roswell is they didn't put a lid on it quick, and it leaked to the media, and then ensued this biggest UFO circus that's ever existed
just about
since then. And
Rendlesham was big though in England too.
So. But obviously we think it's a real incident, and that a ship really did crash. And there's actually two crash sites, because it crashed. Part of it crashed and blew off, and then another part crashed further on. So and there were
bodies. Biologics.
Yeah,
were
definitely
found.
Bodies were seen, and we know that they the military threatened the witnesses with killing their families. And this is finally coming out with a lot of the Roswell witnesses they're just now becoming,
Yeah,
they're on their deathbeds now, a lot of them, and so
yeah,
they're coming out with their
90 years
true
old,
stories
yes.
now.
Yeah, exactly. So they don't have much to lose.
Yeah, but they were scared for years to speak.
Yeah, I would be for sure. Well, thank you for answering those hot takes. We have a few listener questions for you guys, and we're so grateful to everybody that has chimed in on the conversation this evening with Stephen and Leslie Shaw. So we'll pull some of these questions in. Smitty, I'm going to throw it to you for those. Oh,
And
Smitty,
you
I think
are
you're
muted,
muted.
Smitty.
There we go. That's that vibe they were talking about in the comments.
It's
Smitty's vibe.
technology with us tonight.
When Cosmic Convergence asked, when experiencing the UAP entities, did either of you feel an atmospheric, dimensional, or magnetic akin to being in a snow globe?
Well, obviously, what happened to me with the coins, it felt almost like a door was open when the being, the electric, electric blue white being, it entered kind of like through a door and then it left. And like say, there was no UFO parked in our backyard. Okay, so it got here somewhere. So there was definitely a magnetic and component for sure in that one instance, and several others too.
So nobody picked you up and shook you then? No, I'm kidding.
No snow globe.
And he has a recurring abduction dream that I wrote into one of our series on our Instagram page. But it's kind of a long thing to go into.
Basically, it's this. I'm either in my backyard at the twilight, or I'm at the beach at twilight. This has been happening for decades, and it starts with a hum that I both hear and I feel in my body, and then I see like a plane go over in the air, and then it changes to a more sophisticated plane, then it turns into more of a UFO, and it'll be like 5 or 6 of them fly by, but it's the same thing, but it's always preceded by a hum and a vibration in my body. And sometimes they'll land, and sometimes I'll have interaction.
Yeah, sometimes it gets out and it's angry with him, and it's
this last one about 7 months ago, yes, they were not happy.
Yeah, there was an alien got out of the ship, was angry with him.
It was not happy.
Well, thank you for your answer. Or another listener asked, Gray Druid asked, Stephen, did you feel a connection to them like they are familiar, almost like family?
Yes. I'd say so, yeah. In fact, people say, would I rather not have had these connections and these interactions, and even with all the sleepless nights I've had because of it? I say no. I'm glad that I have this. I feel like I've been directed in my life, and that's why I became an acupuncturist. I think I've been pushed in certain directions, and I've always had like this inner guide. When I listen to my inner guide or my inner voice, I actually do better. It's like when I don't listen to it, I get in trouble. So I'm glad.
A lot of abductees we've spoken with too, they're almost like friends.
Yeah.
And that these people, hello, I have to remind them, it's like, you were taken unwillingly out of your bedroom and samples were stolen from you.
It's a love-hate relationship.
But they sort of think of them as friends or mentors or something.
I do. My mom said, she told me about old Glegley, and my dad, even my uncle who, in fact, the first car he got for his daughter, the license plate was old Glegley for her. I mean, this was a very important event in his life. He would have been dead if O'Glegley hadn't appeared in the middle of the night and said, you got to get out of your cot right now because there's a raiding party coming by and you're going to get killed. And then the entity just disappears, and he got out of his cot, no questions asked, and 2 minutes later, a raiding party came through with machetes and guns and killed several of the officers. This is in Sri Lanka, which was Ceylon at the time. So, I mean, he definitely believed, and this has been happening. This is generationally in my bloodline from Germany, which was the Newmans, and then to England, which was the Rose, and then the Shaws, which I'm a Shaw. So this has been following for 4 generations that I know of.
And when I started realizing with the abduction phenomenon that they're not taking like scientific samples, because they're taking the same person again and again and again through their lives, and then they'll start taking their family members. So obviously they're after a certain product, like a genetic line that they're after. And once they find it, they prey on the family for a long time.
As far as I know, it could be a distant cousin. We could be distant cousins.
Right. That somehow just they happen to have a similar genetic strain in their DNA, from ancient times. But we think that it's kind of like a farmer. He's always abducting his cow into a barn and taking the milk and then putting the cow back out to make more milk. And it's a product that he needs regularly to take from this animal. And the farmer also protects his cow. And to me, it seems like that's what this family spirit guide has been doing. He's like the family handler and manager, and he'll protect the family from dying. But it's really serving their own needs.
Yes.
And
let them ask.
Yeah.
Thank you. Cosmic convergence. Good to hear from them. I've heard and agree with the deep impact scenario you mentioned. Do you believe or have you been given knowledge of such occurrences happening previously on Mars?
No, we don't have any knowledge of that.
Not particular. Well, I mean, there's the site at Sidonia, but we think that that's pretty close to where this one of the nuclear bomb signatures on Mars. There's two nuclear bomb signatures on Mars.
The xenon particles, and also there's the huge scar on Mars too.
And then there's that giant scar across the face, which certainly could have been a similar catastrophe.
But as far as specifically, no, we don't.
Yeah, not specifically. And Mars doesn't have a magnetic field anymore. Being a smaller planet,
and also its core is not active.
It's not. So that's what happened to Mars's atmosphere. At least it certainly could be the culprit, because once the magnetic field is gone on a planet, the solar wind just slowly bleeds the atmosphere off of the planet.
And the water.
It's incredible. You guys have a wealth of knowledge. Truly, I can only imagine your book. Let's bring in one more listener question, and then we will wrap some things up here.
I hope I'm saying this right. Parsi X. Lesson Stephen, have you heard of owl-headed NHI avians? They come to me as orbs and crafts.
Well, my brother had a lot of experience with orbs, especially an orb or two that were plaguing him when in one of the houses that he built in the Sonora area. It would in the middle of the night, it would go up and down his balcony,
looking into his windows.
It was like an orangish red orb, like about softball size or baseball size. And one night, he decided to just go out to look at it and confront it, and it basically rushed him, and it went through his upper right shoulder and went out the back. And this happened to be that the next night, 2 nights later, Leslie and I had made the 500-mile trip up to Sonora, and we were talking to him about things. He didn't really talk about stuff. We didn't really openly talk about this stuff too much, because it was just kind of like one of these weird things that had been in the family for generations. But anyways, he started talking about it. He said, it brushed him and it went through his shoulder, and we took a look at his back, and he had literally this baseball size bruise that was on his back. And
but I don't know about the avians.
No,
I really don't know, unless we're talking about another bizarre genetic experiment. We don't really know about the avians. They're rare. I know that. I've heard very little reports of them. But we need more data.
Yeah.
So anybody seeing avians, please give us more data on those.
Make sure to hit them up.
Yes, and you two seem like the right people to go to, because my goodness, you could write a full encyclopedia. Go door to door selling your encyclopedia of UFO knowledge later on.
Yeah.
It was hard enough writing the one book. It was like giving birth,
Well, like you said, you've been working on it forever too. I was reading a background on you. You've been a journalist. You've been working on this for so many years, and really, you guys know so much. It was such a wonderful conversation. I personally learned a lot and have
Me too.
new theories that I get to ponder and lose sleep over for the next week or so. So thank you
we
for
could do it
sharing
again
that
at some
with
point if we need a fill-in or something like that.
Yeah.
We would
Somebody cancels whatever. Just we got lots of stuff we could help.
Well, you're truly experts, so we might have to bring you into some sort of expert guidance on a particular subject that we might have. And of course, you could throw in some plugs for your book. Speaking of which, where can everybody go to learn more about Leslie and Stephen Shaw and your book?
The book is Who They Are and What They're Up To. It's available on Amazon and Ingram. And I urge experiencers to visit us on Instagram as well. That was leslie.shaw.author. And we have a webpage with excerpts and blogs, and that's whotheyarebook.com. And that's it, right?
Yeah. We have a lot of tiles on there and a lot of
reels and I wrote a lot of Stephen's family's experiences into this series on our Instagram page because there were so many of them, and I just wanted to kind of have a full anthology of them somewhere.
Yeah, before I die.
Well, according to you, we're all going to live to be 150, so you have plenty of time. Plenty of time, and I hope that you are right. So thank you for sharing all of your wonderful stories and thoughts with us. And to all those that are tuning in, we are grateful to each of you. Our listeners are growing every single day exponentially. I cannot believe how many followers we have on YouTube. It's just growing like crazy. So if you are not following us on YouTube yet, please go there, subscribe, hit the like button, share our videos so we can get all of these messages out there and get us one step closer to disclosure, because this is a grassroots movement. It's not coming from the top down. It's going to go from the bottom up with people like our lovely folks that we had on here today, and all of Cosmic Convergence and Grey Druid and everybody else that's joined us today, Transcendence, sharing your stories. That's the way that we're going to get the message out. If you want to learn more about us or how you can support our show, please do go to allthingsunexplained.com. We do release a new podcast every Monday. So if you prefer to listen, if you're like me and you're always on the go, and the only time you ever sit down is to record a podcast, you can listen to our podcasts while driving or doing dishes or putting laundry away, or now I just gave away all of the things I do in my free time to each and every one of you. I'm going to throw it to Tim for our closing remarks.
That's right. Thank you for joining us, Leslie and Stephen Shaw, on today's fascinating journey into the world of alien abductions. A big thank you to them. Absolutely, for sharing y'all's insights and experiences. We definitely want to have you back on. There's so much we didn't get to, from disclosure to giant UFOs to alien autopsies to alien mummies to giant skeletons, a lot of which you cover in your book. I could tell you want to say some more about it in your book, who they are and what they're up to.
We're good friends with Nick Hugh Newman too. So.
Yeah.
So see, I hooked you into coming.
Met times. That's going too far.
Yeah, well,
we'd love to be. Yeah,
that comes from the Tim Mounts book of sales right there.
Yeah.
If you're out there, come to dinner.
Yeah. Oh, he's a Brit, so he and I got along really well.
Yeah.
We got talking about stuff.
For everybody out there, whether you're a skeptic or a believer, there's no denying the intrigue and mystery that surrounds this phenomenon. Smitty?
Listen, we're so grateful for everyone that came tonight. Be happy, be strange, and listen to All Things Unexplained. Good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
All Things Unexplained.
What's your hot take on Travis Taylor?
I've got an exclusive for you guys if you want it about the Alaska.
We do.
Okay.
Dr. Taylor was revealed to be the chief scientist of the UAP task force with the Pentagon.
So some of that, I think, sir, we'll save for closed session.
All Things Unexplained is free to watch on YouTube and listen to wherever you get your podcasts. If you would like to support our show, you can visit our YouTube store. Additionally, you can find us on Venmo under All Things Unexplained. be sure to check out our website, allthingsunexplained.com. All proceeds from the sales of Dr. Mounce's books on Amazon and Audible also go straight to our show.